an introduction to 360-degree photography, this time on Hak5.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
My name is Shannon Morse.
It's your weekly dose of Technolust.
Welcome to this super exciting and fun show.
It's going to be a good one. I'm very excited.
Are you itadakimasu excited?
I am itadakimasu excited. I don't even know what did I just say, Shannon?
I don't know if there's like a proper translation for it, but it's what you say before you eat a meal.
Okay. Well, then where's my meal? I'm at work right now.
I know. And I want to eat all the time.
What if we could get paid to eat on the podcast? Wait, that would be weird.
That'd be really gross and creepy. I don't eat on camera. Thank you very much.
Speaking of cameras, we're going to be talking about 360-degree cameras today and having all sorts of fun.
But first, we have some stickers.
Wahoo!
We just got some new ones. So, Darren, I think you know the story behind these. This one kind of freaks me out a little bit.
I love him.
It's a decapitated goat with a rainbow going through his head.
You know, it's not until you just said that I realized he is decapitated.
He's decapitated.
Well, there is a new...
I guess you could like cut off the bottom so you can't see that he's decapitated.
No.
It's really weird.
So there is a local artist, I don't know, I'm just gonna put that guy right there.
Yeah.
But there's an Art-O-Matic in town, which is really exciting. Basically, you pop a few coins in. Oh, and this is from an awesome surf shop that's been hooking me up lately.
Awesome.
So that goes there, 101 Surf Sports in San Rafael.
Nice.
And so Art-O-Matic, the idea is you pop some coins in, you press the lever, and then you get a sticker.
Okay.
And I just realized how cute that is because you are a My Little Pony right now. A sneezing My Little, look at the, spin around, let's see the My Little Pony-ness.
Well, you gotta see the bottom of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like rainbows.
And that's why you tuned in.
Yep. To talk about stickers and sneezing and hair.
Well, see, we've got rainbows coming out of the decapitated goat head, and you are the physical embodiment of such.
So weird. So we actually have a lot going on in this episode. I think we should go ahead and get started. But first, I want to start it off with a quote from renowned photographer Elliot Erwitt. So he is quoted as saying, "Photography is an art of observation. It has little to do with the things that you see and everything to do with the way that you see them." So today we are stepping outside of our traditional 4x3 or 16x9 frame and into something called 360-degree photography. Yeah,
it's fun.
I'm very excited. Yeah, so speaking of which, I know you said it's fun, like, and you've been using this for a while. Mm-hmm. You've really been dabbling with this. So what is 360-degree photography?
It is something that breaks my brain. I mean...
It kind of breaks my brain too.
It's just a photography technique. It's not that this is like new. It's not that new. I mean, this has been going on for a while. In fact, we've all seen panoramas and things of that nature. I love that in photography, which is a really geeky hobby of mine, that there are so many facets of it, and this is just a new fun one. But the idea here is that with 360-degree photography, so it's 360, 180, right? We're getting the entire scene, and not just an angle.
Okay.
Right? I mean, there's still angles involved. There's still a little bit of composition involved, but it breaks traditional photography means, and it's sometimes called 360-degree panoramic photography. I've seen it called VR photography or 360 video tours. You know, it's hot in real estate. Spherical photography, stuff of that nature.
Yeah, I've actually seen hotels do this.
Oh yeah?
Like one of the hotels I'm staying at in Tokyo has 360-degree photography of the hotel room that I'll be staying in. And then I think we did a demo of this years ago with Microsoft, I want to say. They had like a photo stitching tool where you could take a bunch of pictures and it would stitch them together.
Photosynth.
Photosynth.
Where was that in my head?
Sounds familiar.
And so that was a really interesting one where you would take photographs and it would analyze them and come up with the geometry of the scene based on just the pixels in the photo.
Yeah, and so that was very like old school, but how do you do it nowadays?
Well, it has changed a lot. You know, typically in the past you had seen things like rigs that would take, I don't know, anywhere between 3 and 50 GoPros and then put them all together, and then you would record to, you know, slam sync them and record to individual SD cards, and then you would ingest those and use very complicated software to stitch everything together, and it has gotten so much easier. And I bring this up now because it's a really interesting time in that we're at the very beginnings of basically this becoming a mainstream consumer technology.
Yeah.
So that's why this is really a Technolust segment, but I wanted to share this with you because we're kind of at a really amazing point here, both in consuming the media and making the media, as more and more platforms get onto the scene that accept these formats. Finally. And more devices and cameras support this kind of stuff. We've seen some really cool innovations coming out of Facebook, Facebook's F8, where they're open sourcing this entire suite of systems to put this stuff together, which we'll touch on later, but it's really cool stuff. So I just figured...
That's like the one time I'm going to say, oh, Facebook is doing something cool.
You know, a lot of times they do. They actually do some really cool stuff as far as IT infrastructure things are concerned, and also drones.
Yeah.
So just, you know, and internet.org, which, depending on who you ask, is cool.
Yeah.
Point being, 360-degree photography has come a long way from the multiple GoPros on a rig. You can still do that, but it's at the point where you can just go and get a piece of equipment and not have to think about anything and press the button and get a 360-degree photo. So here's what it looks like. This is from a recent trip to Honolulu, Sebastian and I. And actually, if we spin around, hey look, there's Mike and there's Momi. And this is just at a little tiki bar in Waikiki. Cool. Which is really awesome. And so I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of it, because rather than capturing a photograph, like this right here, if I zoom in, I could say like, oh, well, this is a photograph.
Yeah.
But it's more so than that, because really what I'm doing is I'm capturing the entire scene. In fact, there's me taking the photograph, and you know, you can really explore it, which is interesting because you lose a lot of the traditional concepts of framing and angles and such. Like there's, I forget the name of that waterfall, but there's a waterfall in
Whoa. Are you literally like hanging out of a helicopter?
Yeah, I'm hanging out of a helicopter.
Okay.
And so that's kind of fun because it's like, well, where is the photograph? Where do you look, right?
So it's still kind of flat when you're seeing it on a computer, though.
Right, and that's the really cool thing is you can manipulate these images in so many ways.
Yeah.
So like, in fact, viewing them it's like right now I'm showing you just on a computer.
Yeah.
But there's so many ways to view them. Like I've got the Gear VR here as an example because you can put this on and do the whole VR experience, and then it's a really interesting way to share an experience because you aren't just capturing a photograph of like, this is what I want you to see. Instead, you're like, this is the whole surroundings. And so the same thing with video, it can be really immersive and cool. Some of the video players, if you're not going to do the VR headset thing, YouTube, for example, supports this now. And on your phone, for example, you can use the gyroscope in your phone to tilt your phone around and see all throughout the video.
So crazy.
Or you can just swipe with your finger.
Yeah, I think there was like a Michelle Obama interview that The Verge did maybe, and it was 360 degree. It was so cool. So it was like you're in the White House, like looking around. It was really neat. So how do you capture 360 photos?
Well, traditionally, you could do this with really any kind of equipment that takes photographs. So if you have a high-end DSLR, you can use something like that. You just have to use specialized stitching software to then take that in. If you have an Android phone, you probably already have this capability just in your phone today in that Photospheres, which is basically like a Google-branded idea of the same thing, which is where you take multiple photos, and it's really, there's an art to it because you have to rotate on the lens and not, in the center of the camera, but in where the lens is. And you just take all of those and put them together, and then you have a sphere. If you've ever used Google Street View, you've seen this. It's the exact same concept. Yeah, and actually, if you have one of two cameras currently on the market, you can actually upload your own 360 photos back into Google Maps, as I have done, and I'll show you those in a sec.
So what are these specialized cameras?
So there's only two on the market that are off-the-shelf Google Street View compatible. One of them is several thousands of dollars, and then the other one is only a couple $100, and it's this here, which is the Theta S. So this is a fun little camera. It's very simple to operate. There's basically a power button and a shutter button, and it'll do video and photographs. Some others might include the gyroptic. This is a really interesting camera. You can see.
It's so cute.
Rather than two lenses, this one actually has three. And so, some form factor differences. I'm not going to get into the hardware too much. This is just more of a conceptual thing. There's a bunch of these on the market. For example, and I've played with a bunch of these. So that was the Theta. There's also the gyroptic. The bubble is another great example. I just had a chance to play with that a little bit. I've played with the Kodak SP360. I had to send it back because it was terrible. And then the thing that I'm most excited about is actually this Nikon Key Mission 360, which has more of like a GoPro form factor.
Not out yet, right?
No, it's not out yet. But like I said, this is why it's so exciting, because right now the technology for both consuming the content and creating the content is ever growing. So it's a good time to get into this because it's very experimental. Because
I think Samsung is doing one too, right?
the Samsung Gear 360, which again I'm very excited about. These are things that will hopefully bring it into the mainstream.
Now, do these do 360 video too?
Yeah, most of them do 360 video. I mean, it's the same concept. It's just photography at 30 frames per second. You play it back with some sound, we have a video.
Okay, yeah, so tell me a little bit about 360 video.
Well, here, I can actually show you an example. I have some right here. Let me find my videos. And so here's a video that I took on this helicopter. Mute that.
Whoa.
So it's not that exciting when you look at it like this. Essentially what we have here is a 1080p video with both lenses. And so when you look at this camera, you can see that essentially we have 180-degree lens in the front, 180-degree lens in the back, and then in camera they get stitched together for the photographs, and we'll get into how that kind of works. For the videos, we end up with a video file that's really just these bubbles. So what ends up happening is you have to run this through a stitching process, which we'll go ahead and I will close this so you can see. This is the end result after it's been stitched. Now, that's kind of a really weird, distorted view, right? Yeah.
You're in a very janky helicopter.
It's not janky. It's the white 50 helicopter. Come on. Yeah, there we are going over. Oh,
that's cool.
The beach there in Waikiki. But what you really need to do is you'll actually this gets into editing, and that's another segment all in itself. But what happens is once you have the video stitched, you can go ahead and inject it with certain metadata that allow you to put it up on a video platform, for instance, YouTube. And
who supports that right now?
Right now, it's pretty much just Facebook and YouTube. There are some other, less well-known out there.
Yeah. Like
Theta, for example, has their own social whatever service, but it's not a Facebook or a Google kind of clout.
And you have to have that metadata to be able to have this work?
Yeah, so what it is when you convert that video, it needs to be able to know what format it's in, it needs to know where up is and all of that stuff. And so there's a little bit of metadata. And this is how early we are into this system, that in order to upload this video to YouTube, I could just upload that video file, but everybody would see what I just showed you in VLC.
Right.
So in order to actually see it in 360, you have to use a tool that Google or YouTube have developed that's basically like a metadata injection tool. It's for Windows and Mac, and of course it's cross-platform because it's literally they give you a Python file.
So you can't just use the regular conventional upload thing.
No, well you do. So when you this file I uploaded,
so you do the metadata first, and then you use the regular conventional upload. But YouTube is also grabbing that data on the back end, so it knows that it's 360.
Yeah, it's essentially EXIF data, similar to you have in a photograph.
Okay.
And so it just tells, because I guess they can't detect hey, this is an equitangular format. We'll get into that. But essentially, you take the video file from the camera, then using the special software, which is vendor specific right now because all of them implement it different. The Theta does it with 2 lenses and the gyroptic with 3. So they all have their own software. Sadly, the stuff for the Theta is only Windows and Mac, which is why I'm using a Windows right now.
Okay.
And then once you've converted that, then you have to do YouTube's little injecty stuff to get it to end up looking like this. And so when you upload it, now you can spin around. And if you were to put this in the goggles, there I am looking all weird and stuff, and then you have a 360-degree video, which is
That's cool.
pretty cool.
Oh, I wish I had one of these when I went flying over volcanoes in Hawaii.
Right?
That would have been amazing.
And that's the thing, is this is just so interesting and novel and experimental that it's just fun to, this is definitely going in my pack for Australia because
That's awesome.
some of the more interesting things are stuff that you didn't know when you took the photo was like behind you, right?
Yeah.
And you're like,
you can totally grab photo bombers now. You'll be like, I knew he was there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool because like basically these are taking the images from the two disparate cameras and then using the software, converting it into a format that these video platforms like YouTube and Facebook can understand so that we can experience them in VR. And so it's like trying to get even closer and closer to that shared experience.
Yeah.
You know, a photograph, like they say a photo is worth 1,000 words and things of that nature. I don't know how many words a VR photo is, but it definitely feels more surreal, like you're there.
So you mentioned a really weird word, equirectangular?
Equirectangular.
What is that?
So basically, this is a way to map a sphere onto a flat surface because, as you saw, this is like a flat 2D plane here on my computer screen.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to see that here on the computer and be able to upload it to a video service.
Yeah, of course.
But I want it to be spherical, right? And that's how it's captured. So the concept is to, in fact, I've got a great example here. This is really cool. This is invented by a mathematician, like a Greek mathematician back in like 100 AD. So it's been used for a while, and you are probably familiar with it because here we have.
Oh yes, that's called a globe.
There we have a globe, but that's what we're capturing because we're capturing a sphere. And you probably have experience with seeing this equirectangular format because it's exactly what you get when you take that same globe and you stretch it out to there.
Okay.
And you notice if we flip around to America's hat, Canada isn't actually that really wide and weird and crazy. I mean, it is in other ways. But you end up with this skewed top portion. I mean, Greenland doesn't actually look like that. You can spin around to Greenland on the globe.
Greenland's actually much
and it's
skinnier.
not, yeah, exactly. So what happens
it's
here
lost
is
some weight.
around the equator, everything is pretty normal, but then up at the top, things get a little squished.
Yeah.
Which, if we switch over to that video again, you can actually see that the top and bottom are kind of squished. And so that's the format that has become basically the industry standard in this area to be able to, map this stuff out. And that's really cool because these are what are being used by the viewers to be able to do that faux 3D so that you can put on a pair of VR goggles and actually have that experience with faux depth as if you're really there.
So I know you've been experimenting with this a lot. Can you give me some tips and tricks for taking my own pictures?
Absolutely. Hang on just a second.
And we have some audio.
So basically, like I said, it breaks your traditional concepts of photography.
Yeah.
So framing and composition are totally out the window.
Completely different.
Okay. You also, because you have such wide lenses, you end up with a very different look, and based on where you put the camera, you're going to get a different experience when you view this back.
Yeah.
So I'll give you some examples. Like here we are on the beach, and we're really short, actually. It makes sense though, because so are our subjects. We're really short.
Okay.
Here's another example. I'm near like a blade of grass. So I'm an ant right now. And this is actually some kind of like star photography and stuff. Like, check that out. This is a really long exposure. Whoa. This was at night, and you can, see the stars in the sky, which is pretty cool. So it really here's another great example. Here we are, and I can actually.
That looks like, did you take it from a drone?
That's what it really looks like. And what's interesting about the way that the theta does it, if we look down, all we'll see is this little aberration right here where I'm holding the camera. See if I can zoom into that. And that's pretty much it. We'll get into the equipment that I use, but
that's cool.
Being able to get that shot is really cool because then you can take any of these that look good, like here where the sun is coming through. And even if you're not planning to use it like 360, you could say, oh, well, now I'm going to crop this, and it becomes a non-360 photo.
What if you want to take yourself out of the picture?
Okay, so that's tricky. Here we go. Here's another one from this same abandoned building, and I'm in it. But if I go to the next one, all right, so this is that building again, and I can spin around, and you'll notice Where am I?
Are you creeping behind that windowsill or something?
Yes, I am. Actually, you can see a little bit of my shoulder right there. So it takes a little effort to remove yourself from the photograph. In fact, I think I have another one right here. So this is, again, I'm an ant. This is at Muir Woods, and this is being done with a remote shutter using my phone. And then, oh, actually, that's just Kirby. Because
it's a kitty.
Because Kirby.
Because of course.
Or this is another really weird one where it's like, well, where is this? When I've showed this to people, they're like, oh, cool. What drone did you use to get that photo?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Because I'm hanging over these the Carson Falls here in Marin, and then here's the last example. This is actually, check this out. This is pretty cool. Did you know that there is a swing? There's like a rope swing overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge.
No.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For all the Bay Area locals, if you haven't found Kirby Cove, which, funnily enough, Kirby. But yeah, here's one in the Marin Headlands where I am removed from the photograph. And it's a little tricky because you have to use like the remote shutter, which has really terrible Wi-Fi performance. So I'm actually hiding behind that rock right there. And so there are some inherent problems with some of these. Like, for instance, it's kind of obvious where the camera is based on that shadow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different in the techniques. It's very experimental. It's fun because you're no longer thinking about capturing an angle as much as you are the entire scene.
Yeah.
And then the way that you position the camera still has a major difference on the tone, similar to cinematography. If we were shooting this from above, you might feel like a fly on the wall. If we were shooting it from below, you might feel like an ant. If you're head level, especially if you're going to do VR videography, you really want to be at head level because otherwise everyone feels like, I don't know, really weird.
So what is in your arsenal of gadgets? You have a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, so that's actually the problem with it. I was really excited just because this camera is so small.
Yeah.
I like to pack very light. I haven't brought my DSLR on a trip in so long because it's so large and heavy.
Really? Wow.
But the Theta, I'm excited because it's so small, and it's kind of my go-to right now just because I really like the workflow. It's sadly the best there is out there. I'm not saying this is fantastic, but I've tried a bunch of these and they're not all great.
Yeah.
But it does take some equipment to make this look good. So for example, one of the essentials is a tripod.
Yeah.
So I'll either use this guy right here. There you are. So
that's a tripod?
That is a tripod. And that's a Joby micro tripod. These are the guys that make the Gorilla
So it stands
Pod.
like this.
Right, and so that gives you just a little something better to stick that camera on. It uses a standard quarter 20 mount, so the same thing that you'll find anywhere else on cameras. I also like this. This is by Novaflex.
Oh yes, I'm familiar with these guys.
It's incredibly light. The nice thing about this is it works very much like a Tinker Toys. Yeah, Tinker Toys. So you just pop these legs out, and then you end up with a pretty stable platform. And I say pretty stable because it actually is. The way that these are so wide, the reason that I do that is because I also bring a selfie stick. I know.
Of course.
I'm on set with a selfie stick. Because I like to be able to get a little bit of length. Because I'm going to leave it somewhere.
Is that a Bluetooth selfie stick?
No, it's not. This is, honestly, it's
Mine
just
is
a
Bluetooth.
monopod. This is all controlled through your smartphone over the Wi-Fi's.
Okay.
So I'll attach this to there, but actually the one that I'm bringing to Australia, which I'm really excited about, this is brand new for this year from Manfrotto, which I love their equipment. This is a monopod, right? So this extends out like you would normally expect.
Yeah.
And you've got your regular quarter 20 head, for your tripod there. But in addition to that, on the very bottom, you also have a quarter 20, which means that, in fact, I'm going to extend these down so that we can actually see it on the set, which means that I can go ahead and put the Theta here on the end. And now I have essentially a selfie stick, right?
Yeah.
But what's really exciting about this is if you just use something as simple as a quarter 20 nut that's really long, essentially this acts as a coupler. So I can go ahead and screw, oops, come here. I can screw this onto the bottom of the handle. And now I can go
see
ahead
what you're doing.
and screw this onto here. And I've just turned a little bit of kit into essentially a tripod.
Ha! That's awesome.
And what's nice about this is...
That would not hold my DSLR though.
Yeah? Well, this will go 55 inches. No, it won't. But all of these 360
Pretty heavy.
cameras are pretty pretty light. So there we go. And this is almost head height, so that if I were to shoot a photo like this and I wanted us to be in it, then it would be at the right angle. Because if it was on the floor, we'd be looking up at us and it would just be like, nostril cam. Nobody wants that.
Neat. So what about to view them?
So to view them,
are you bringing this with you? Because
no.
it's kind of big.
The Gear VR is a fun toy. And if you have a Samsung phone that supports it, it's worth the $100 to check out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, any Google Cardboard viewer will do the trick. And as far as Cardboard viewers, I can't speak highly enough about these little guys. I just carry it in this tiny little case. And this is, there are a couple of people that have integrated this exact design, but check this out. That just pops out like that and then slips onto your phone. And now, wherever you are, you can go ahead and experience that photograph that you just took, which totally adds a different element to the photo completely. And I guess I'll put some links in the show notes to these. These are really inexpensive.
Pro tip, those work with glasses.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
That's
I was very happy to find out about that. So what's next for 360-degree photography?
Ubiquity. I'm hoping. My hope is that what we'll see is, as more and more cameras are coming out, we saw a bunch of stuff at CES, we're going to see the availability of the Samsung and the Nikon are the two big ones that I feel like are going to bring this to consumers. GoPro has announced that they're working on one. They have traditionally had just like giant rigs where people would use multiple GoPros.
Expensive.
It is. Well, they're coming down. Like, we're in kind of the $400 or $500 range here for what essentially are the point-and-shoot equivalents of 360 cameras. But to see the likes of Nikon getting into this game, it will probably begin with action sports kind of stuff. I mean, this is really cool. If you're doing like some kite surfing or something like that, you definitely want to have one of these on your helmet to share that experience, because I would love to put on a VR viewer and feel like I'm catching those waves.
Yeah, totally.
The other big thing that needs to happen, in addition to more ubiquity in the camera space and that price dropping so that it can become like a really consumer action camera device, is the social media platforms need to catch up.
Yes.
So right now we have the likes of Facebook and YouTube supporting these for video.
Can we put this on Twitter, please?
Not currently.
I want this on Twitter.
No, I want this on Instagram, Hak5 Darren.
Yeah.
And so,
Snubs.
yeah, right? But it's currently not supported on Flickr or Twitter or Instagram or, pick a social network. Basically, it's video on YouTube and Facebook, and that's
it.
Kind of where we are right now. And I would love to see, as far as like the mainstream popular networks, so it's a chicken and egg thing, but I feel like we're moving into an industry. If you're watching this in 2017, this segment is already totally old. But if
anybody re-uploads it and puts the name 2017 on it, it's old.
Yeah, I love it when they do that. What's next for me, though, is, as you might imagine, coming out of the series that we've been doing here recently, we're just going to put this on a drone.
Are you?
Totally.
You're going to put it on a drone?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, might as well.
It's going to be an interesting...
I mean, it might put you over 250 grams, but...
It definitely will, and it will make for an interesting design requirement in that the CG is going to be all over the place, considering how tall this is. So that's one of the reasons why I'm actually really excited about the Nikon, just the form factor alone.
No kidding.
But yeah,
that was really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a whole...
I'm kind of sad that I'm leaving for Tokyo in like 2 days, because I want to bring one of these with me.
Uh-oh.
And take like 360 photography of the temples.
We might have converted the snubs. Well, you currently can just go ahead and search your app store of choice, depending on your smartphone, for 360 photography tools. There are a number of apps out there. You can already take photospheres with yours.
That's true.
It just takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's something to it. There's so much more to this. Let us know what you guys think. We could get into the nitty-gritty of how the math works, or how to actually do the photo editing or the video editing and stitch this all together, because it's a fun little rabbit hole similar to the drones. But I just thought I would share one of my new passions.
I love it.
Technolust, as it were, with you.
Yeah, this is great. It was very much like show and tell.
Yes.
Show and tell for Technolust. Coming up this month, we have a couple of really fun interviews, and we're going to be discussing a bit about FPV.
Yes.
It's going to be super, super fun.
We have some experts coming on, which is exciting, because FPV changes everything. As far as like 360 photography changing the concept of photography, FPV changes the concept of drones completely.
It's very, very cool. So definitely keep your eyes on hak5.org so you can see all the newest episodes and subscribe to our YouTube over at youtube.com/hak5.
And as long as you're over at hak5.org, scroll on down and find all the info about how you can join us on the Hack Across the Planet tour.
Yay.
We're having meetups in Tokyo, Japan, the Gold Coast in Australia, as well as Sydney. Or you can just head over to hackacrosstheplanet.com and you can grab yourself.
So fun.
Oh, I don't have them.
Or the doubloons.
The doubloons. You'll learn
mine.
more about those if you come to a meetup.
Yep, that's
yes.
right. They are
so much fun. What else is going on?
Make sure to email us, feedback@hak5.org, if you have questions or if you have tips about 360 photography. Really interested in this space, so definitely let us know about your own hacks for getting 360 photography to work.
Leave some comments. Let us know. And I can't wait to check out the open source Facebook stuff that they're releasing hopefully later this summer. I don't know. They haven't really announced a date.
It's going to be open source?
Yeah, which is what I'm talking about. Like
cool.
Facebook does some cool stuff sometimes.
Okay. So. Props to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's really neat. Definitely check out hakshop.com too. That's hakshop.com. That's where you can pick up all sorts of really cool penetration testing devices that we sell right here for you guys.
It's very nerdy.
And sometimes we draw pictures.
You saw that?
Yes, I saw that.
Man.
It was really cool.
We get the weirdest requests. It's so much fun. All right. Well, hey, with that, this has been a ball. I look forward to seeing you guys next week as we get more into drones. So with all of that, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
Trust your technolust. You guys have heard me say it before. When you have a great idea, you need a great domain, which is exactly what we just did here at Hak5 when we thought, well, what if we invited everyone to come to the warehouse for workshops to build drones? Fly with hak5.com, and we did it with domain.com, made it happen super quick and easy, had the website up and online in no time. It's what Shannon and I use whenever we have these brilliant ideas because they're fast, they're reliable, they're easy to use, but most of all, they've been supporting Hak5 for years, so tweet at them at domain.com and say, hey, thanks for supporting Hak5, and while you're at it, use their special coupon code just for us. It's HAK5, and that'll save you 20% at checkout at domain.com. So when you think domain names, think domain.com.
Ja mata.
What does that mean?
See you later.
How do you say trust your technologist in Japanese?
Trust your technologist.